OCO beautiful people, I hope you all are doing well. I'm Dane Calloway and I'm back with another episode today. Rapper Trick Daddy says he no longer wants the African American label. This drove some people to disagree with the statement, but thousands agreed with them and said his statement made them respect him even more. Should people be called African Americans if they have no lineage to Africa? Most of you already know what I'm about to do, right? Let's chat about it. Leave a like on this thing before we get to it. Let's get it.
OCO, freethinkers. You're now tuned into the realest historian on the planet. The best teacher you wished you had in school. Have your pens and paper handy and get ready to take notes. It's Dane Calloway on I'm Just Here to Make You Think Radio.
Trick Daddy recently expressed his concern about the term African American. The 50-year-old rapper from Miami, Florida, took to his social media to explain why he doesn't want to be labeled as African American.
I'm trying to figure out how Afro get in front of my motherfucking race. I ain't never been to Afro color. I never been to Africa. Afro or Africa. Never been there. I'm not from Africa. I'm born and raised in Goose, Florida. I'm born in Goose, raised in Liberty City in the Poker Bean Project. I ain't never went to Africa. I ain't thinking about going there. And I heard it's a beautiful place. Yeah. And I know it's the motherland, yes. But not my mother, not her mother, and not her mother's mother. That ain't their land. America real true land is right here in the U.S. soils.
Many so-called Black Americans are speaking up year after year about this issue of being labeled something that they are not. Here's comedian Charleston White back in July of this year.
And we are not Africans. We are not African. Are you an African, baby? I'm not no African. Nigga, you a lying motherfucker. Nigga talking about we African. You African, nigga. I ain't African. I don't know nobody in my family from Africa. So you a lying motherfucker. I'm talking about we African. Nigga, fuck you. And anybody else talking about we African, I ain't no motherfucking African. Nigga. So, back to what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know where to go in Africa. Nigga talking about we Africans. Let me go to Africa. And I'm talking about, say, man, I'm an African. He was like, no, you ain't. He's from America. He's from America. Yeah, there ain't no mother African. Yeah, I'm Texas. I'm a Texan. A Texas nigga. I ain't no mother African. And you can't make me African. Yeah, nigga, I don't look like no African. Yeah, African. Black. And African got funny features. They don't look like us. You don't see now nigga in Africa look like me. I'm talking about I'm from Africa.
Now, we often have this discussion over at my main Dane Calloway channel here on YouTube, where I present publicly verifiable evidence that proves American history was taught to us all in reverse. I've been exposing their lies and presenting the truth to the public for a decade now. I share detailed explanations of their patterns of misinformation that I discovered as an expert in investigative research. One of the topics I expose for what it really is the term African American and how it was designed as an extreme political identifier deriving from the government and its house Negroes to separate the actual indigenous people of this landmass from their motherland, America. This is why you will hear people say that calling yourself African American is political correctness, which is defined as the conformity of prevailing liberal or radical opinion, in particular by carefully avoiding forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against. In other words, the term African American is their political way of being friendly to a group of people that they know have been systematically discriminated against. The issue with this African American term being called politically correct is that it does not reflect the true identity, culture, spirituality, or history of the group of people that they claim not to be marginalizing. That's not even remotely accurate. When they said that 12.5 million Africans were captured from some part of the west coast of Africa and then forcefully relocated to America and sold at auction blocks as slaves to employers looking for cheap laborers, it was a lie. The transatlantic slave trade, also known as the Middle Passage, did not happen as we were told. The anonymous writers of American history purposely leaves holes in the stories about this subject so that students and adults can make them make sense by using their imagination. My wife and I wrote a book about this called It Was Told in Reverse, The Untold Truth About the Transatlantic Slave Trade Story. That's available now on my website, DaneMakeYouThink.com. But wait, here, I'll tell you a little secret. Come here. They're afraid to tell you that they lost the wars with the indigenous people, who were the ancestors of the people they are misclassifying as African Americans today. Not to be confused with the Native Americans, those foreigners are a totally different group of people who came from another continent and were given the majority of our identity, history, and culture to cover up the truth for generations. This is why when you ask a so-called native about their family's history, they will begin in the late 1800s, which is when they got here to America, to replace the indigenous people by way of immigration.
It's Dane Calloway.
It's a battle over land, rights, and enforcing a court order.
It's been quite a journey.
The conflict centers around the Winnemucca Indian Colony. It's several acres on the south end of Winnemucca. In December, more than a dozen residents who live there were told they had to leave their homes, where they've lived for decades.
I've even got my daughter's ashes spread there. So
Elena Loya lived in the house where her mother once lived. In fact, generations of her family have been there almost a half century.
my great-great-grandmother, Sally Cinnabar, she died on that colony. And her mother died actually in that house I live in.
The history of this land dates back to President Woodrow Wilson. He issued an executive order in 1916 allowing federal railroad land to be used for the Winnemucca Indian Colony. It was meant for homeless Paiute and Shoshone Native Americans. In the past few years, some of the people living on the land, like Jim Ayer, have been intertwined in a legal fight to stay there.
I lived there since 1980, and I'm at least 7 to 10 generations. I could trace my ancestry back to 1894.
Okay, you heard him say that he is at least 7 to 10 generations back, which is a lie. But then he also says that he could trace his ancestry back to 1894. Now, you may recall that slavery was allegedly abolished in 1863 or 1865, right? Even the anonymous writers of American history claim that the first so-called Africans arrived in America in 1619, even though I proved that that story is incorrect for a reason. The year mentioned, 1619, predates the so-called Native Americans' 1894 year, right?
It's go
now,
time,
suppose that doesn't make you see that the term African American disguises their true identity. In that case, you could detach yourself from that indoctrination over on my main Dane Calloway channel here on YouTube and be ready to be red-pilled. Then you'll understand why Donald Trump has been calling them out since 1993.
The other thing is, I'd like to know how many of these people are even Indians to begin with, because I've looked at them, and I have to tell you something, they don't look like Indians to me. And I've told a couple of them who came into my office, I said, I believe I have more Indian blood in my veins than you have, and I have none. And they laugh. They think it's a joke.
I'm just here to make you think.
Slow down. Yeah. Sub up, light up. Yeah.